Hello guys, this is Doran's Movies and welcome to the 7th episode of the Big Q&A. I haven't really done this series in quite a while, but it is okay as it is only meant to be every month or so or every few months, so I just answer a bunch of questions as well as give you some channel updates. So today, as usual, we have sections to talk about. First, the updates when what's going on with the channel, and after that, the lore. For some reason, with the last video, I had so many people complaining about me rambling at the beginning of the video, even though I said multiple times that you can just skip to the parts of the video that you want to see, as I do timestamp these, so every single question or topic I talk about, you can just skip if you don't really care about it. But this series is meant to be around 20 to 30 minutes long, where I just kind of mainly ramble, not really put in too much editing or really as much as I do into other videos. So if you're watching this for the first time and you only care about the lore questions that you saw in the title, feel free to just skip to that. I will address that later on in the video. So without further ado, let's get into the channel stuff. First and the most important thing about the channel is that it has been doing really well recently and it has grown quite a bit. I think the last time I did a Q&A it was at about 45-50k, now it is at 62. My goal for this year was 50k, so we have already reached that before the end of the year. So hopefully it will continue to grow. It has slowed down a bit, but that is mainly because of my schedule and the videos I have been making. So that is also kind of the bad part I wanted to address. In the past few months, I guess mainly the past month, the schedule has been really bad. I used to release 2 videos per week. Now it is around 1 every 7 to 10 days, so it is really not that great. I really want to get to a point where I can release a video once every week or so. The main thing is, like, I have increased the time I put into making videos, but I have also messed up my schedule before. I have gotten a bit burnt out last month because I have been doing so much lore. That is kind of the main reason why I started the entire How Powerful Are series, and I just wanted to just switch it up a bit, just talk about the lore, but from, I guess, a different angle, which it has been doing really well, so that is a really good thing. I don't know, I'm getting back into World of Warcraft again with Legion. I took like a 2-week break or something, but I have gotten back into it. I'm really interested in the lore again and how the story develops, so hopefully everything will be well, and by the start of next year I will really start to get back to the new schedule. Last thing I really wanted to talk about, if you guys have been following my channel for quite some time, you know that I have mentioned opening a history channel or even an Elder Scrolls channel. The Elder Scrolls thing probably won't happen because I'm not really too much into that series at the moment, but this history channel, like real world history, has been a thing for a very long time. I still want to do it, but I constantly get into roadblocks. I mean, of course I could just open the channel, but that's just not a good strategy. Like today, if you wanna grow a channel, you need to really come up with a good strategy and just like invest time and money into it in order to make something out of it, because there is so many channels on YouTube today and you really gotta stand out and put in a lot of effort. And the effort part is kind of the big problem, because with a history channel you gotta do a lot of research and it's a lot more serious than just World of Warcraft. I mean, I do make mistakes every now and again, although I do try to not make them, but it really doesn't matter that much in when you talk about a game. But if you mess up something in real world history, people are just gonna get pissed off, especially if it's like recent history. So the big problem is time. Like, I'm really lacking in time if I want to keep on this channel and another channel as well. That is kind of the main. I don't really want to open a channel and just like abandon this like a lot of people do. I really want to still keep this channel going because I know a lot of you guys subscribe for the lore and you just want to see the lore. Another thing I've been thinking about, like with the entire history thing, I might open that, but only if the channel grows and I can get some help, so I'm not the only one running 2 channels. I need to have a team or something, you know, in order to get all that work done. So I have been thinking possibly about starting maybe a Gwent channel. I know it sounds kinda weird. I recently got into the beta. I played Gwent and Witcher all the time. It's a new game. I play it quite a lot even though it is in the beta. It might be something I could start because I plan to make like really, not really low quality videos as in like bad videos, but low effort videos, like just recording games or talking about strategies, something that doesn't take much time. So I might do something like that in the future if I still keep playing the game. I don't want to promise anything if any of you guys play Gwent, but it might be like a side thing where I upload like once or twice a week, just some like strategies, guides or something like that. The main thing about it is I don't want to interfere with the main channel and pretty much the work I put into it. Alright, so that is pretty much all there is about the channel stuff. I don't want to bore you. I know some of you guys care, but most of you don't, and if you don't, you can just skip to the lore. So let's get into the lore questions. The first question is by Magna Maninis or Menis, and he asks, why are the Void Lords so bad? Alright, so I'm not really going to get too much into it, I'll just try to give you some answer. The first thing to ask is, what does it really mean to be evil? I mean, sure, by our perception, the Void Lords and the Old Gods are complete evils, but that is their own nature, and they're not evil for the sake of being evil with our own standards. In the universe itself, there is the light and the void, the order and chaos, and they're pretty much both sides of the same coin. So for the Titans, order is a natural state, while for the Void Lords, it is chaos. I'm guessing by their own perception, we are the evil because we're trying to bring order to their chaos. I do think that evil is a very subjective thing, and it is not even comparable to the real world, because with the humans, like, we're all kind of the same. But in the Warcraft, the Void Lords are creatures that live in a completely different plane of existence, so they're very much different from almost all life in the universe. The truth is, they have their own goal, and unfortunately, everyone that is living in the entire universe is just paired against it. Okay, the next question is by Lusovchak or Lusovchak, and he asks, hey, I have a question about Thrall. How did he learn to speak Orcish? Alright, this is a very simple question, and most of you guys, if you read Lord of the Clans, you would know this. Thrall, as a baby, was taken and raised by humans, and he pretty much had no interaction with the orcs, even though he is an orc, obviously. At one point in the book, an orc was trying to save him. I believe they were like practicing, like he was practicing with some footmen, and the orc just rushed in trying to save him, thinking the humans were torturing Thrall, and he just yelled at him to run away in Orcish, but Thrall didn't understand a single thing, so that orc just lost his life for nothing. But the thing about that event is that it's pretty obvious that he had zero interaction with the Orcish language or the Orcish culture. That is very purposeful, because the humans didn't want him to know about the orcs. They just wanted to have like a gladiator that has the strength of the orc but the intelligence of a human. However, when Thrall escaped and met Grom Hellscream, he kinda took him under his wing and started teaching him the language as well as the Orcish culture. Obviously, he didn't learn it immediately. You can't just learn a language in like a day, and it did take quite some time. He was pretty bad with Orcish initially, but he managed to learn it in a few years, and by the start of Warcraft 3, which is, I believe, like 2 or 3 years, I know it's like a few years from the Lord of the Clans, he was already speaking Orcish as the native language, so pretty much he was taught by Grom Hellscream, but he also managed to hone it with his own clan and the other orcs he interacted with. Okay, next on we got a question by Noah Morgan, and he asks, can the Forsaken feel pain? If so, how? They're walking, talking, emotional corpses. Their nerves would have died a long time ago. Alright, so I get this question quite a lot, and to be honest, it is very hard to answer. There are sources from the RPG books, the game, the other books, the comics, and it is really hard to really reach a concrete conclusion. To give you a quick answer, I would say yes and no at the same time. I know it's not that much of an answer, but I don't think that the Forsaken really feel pain in the same way living beings do, and even if they lose a limb or a jaw in combat, it wouldn't really do much to stop them, while any human would just instantly be stopped. If he just like lost an arm, he would either bleed out or pass out, or he would definitely stop the combat. Logically, if their nerves, like if you were comparing it to the real world, if their nerves were dead, they wouldn't be able to do anything, they wouldn't even be able to move. But this is a fantasy universe, and they're pretty much just powered up by death magic or the opposite of life. So this is kind of the main reason why the undead can feel immense pain when struck by the light, because it is the opposite magic. I mean, the life is opposite of death, but the light is also opposite of like undead magic. You can see all of that in the chronicle graph. I might even put it in the video. Like there's like a graph of all of the magic and what is opposite of what and like what works with what magic. So in my opinion, and I don't really want to pass this off as official lore, but I think that undead could probably feel some pain, but it is almost unnoticeable, so it would kind of feel like a very numb sensation, and undead losing a limb wouldn't stop him like it would a living being, but he also wouldn't be able to feel that he was hit. Like he wouldn't be in intense pain. He would just kind of feel like, oh, my arm was hit, or I lost my arm, I can't use my arm, but I don't think he would like, the pain itself would be able to stop him unless it is the pain from the light. Alright, the next question is by Hoself, and he asks, what are your thoughts on Medan being a guardian confirmed to be not canon, or to not be canon, I guess? So, if you guys are not aware, on BlizzCon 2016, Blizzard finally confirmed that Medan is not the Guardian of Thrall. I personally think it is a great thing, as this character has been pretty much just floating around with no trace in the actual game ever since they created him. However, the explanation they gave was a bit confusing. Apparently Medan is canon, but he is also not canon at the same time. This means that he does exist as the son of Medivh, but he is just not the Guardian, and the events aren't the same as they were in the comics. For example, the things with Aegwynn, Cho'Gall, and the others apparently did happen, just the end events weren't the same. So, as I understood this personally, I think what it is saying is that the comics aren't canon, but some parts are, so they're most likely going to alter or add onto the existing lore freely. This means that they're probably gonna take like the events with Aegwynn, they probably happened, but they didn't happen in the same way, and Medan is the son of Medivh, but he might have not done the things that he has done in the past or anything pretty much that was in the comics. They just have free reign to do whatever they want and just shape the existing comic lore. In the end, it is probably for the best. I think this Medan thing is really needed a conclusion because he is very overpowered. He is like a mix of 4 different races, and I'm glad they finally addressed this issue. Okay, next on we have a question by Dan Games, and he or she asks, can the Legion be stopped forever or the Twisting Nether destroyed? This is a very relevant question right now, and it is something a lot of people ask. I'm sure most of you that follow the lore already know the answer to this, but I do want to talk about it in order to expand on what I think would be the end scenario. Obviously the Legion can be stopped, but it is really hard, as the only way to kill them is in the Twisting Nether. The Twisting Nether itself, I don't think it can be destroyed. I mean, it is a gigantic realm of its own, and I don't think there is a single power in the universe that would be able to just destroy a realm of existence. Not even the Titans or the Void Lords. A big problem is, even if we do manage to get to the Nether and do start to actually kill demons permanently, it is still going to be very hard. We have limited numbers, and the Legion, even without the immortality, which is a huge strength, is insanely big in numbers. They have a lot of demons, a lot of converted races that are demons, so I think the only real solution would be to kill off the leaders and all of the important officers. That way the demons would be brought to their natural state, which is chaos. When the universe was created, the demons were powerful but very unorganized and not nearly as much of a threat as they are today. They were still a threat to other worlds, but nothing like the Legion is right now. It was only when the Eredar and the other more intelligent races started forming a command structure that the demons turned into this burning Legion that is the biggest enemy of the universe that we have today. In my opinion, I think the end scenario will be similar to the Scourge, with us just like cutting off the head of the beast and the bulk of the army remaining, probably causing trouble every now and again, but nothing really on a major scale, and there probably won't be any like invasions. We might even be able to kill demons off slowly, but I don't think if we do kill Jaden, Sergeras, Archimond, and all of like the important officers, I do think that demons won't really pose that much of a threat. Alright, so we have 3 more questions, I believe, here. The next question is by Anonymous, or A.Anonymous, I guess. Can anyone in the Warcraft universe become a mage through studying, or do you need to be born with an affinity for it? The answer is yes. Good thing about becoming a mage is that anyone can become one, but it is pretty much like the real world, except in the real world there is no magic. You can study if you have the money for it and years to dedicate to the art, but in terms of becoming a mage, it is more like dedicating your entire life to it in order to actually become good. However, there are people that are born with an affinity for magic. It's like a talent. This means that if they do decide to dedicate their life to magic, they will be a lot better than the average mage. They can be the best in the world, or one of the great mages that we have today. One of these would definitely be Adrian or even Jaina. In terms of the light, which is kinda similar, Anduin has a natural affinity for the light, and if he does dedicate to it, he can become one of the greatest priests that we have today. So the answer to your question is yes. Anyone can become a mage, but only if they become dedicated to it, and if they have an affinity for it, if they still dedicate to it and put in the work, they can become great mages. Okay, we got a longer question. It is by Sebastian. I wonder about the current state of Blood Elf history. Since the Burning Crusade, they have been nothing except a few archaeologists roaming around. Didn't they like regain a huge amount of power after reigniting the Sunwell? Because especially in a military way, they seem tremendously underrepresented in the last 2 expansions. Also, it is said in the Blood Elf intro that they struggled to get rid of arcane magic they got used to after the destruction of the Sunwell, which confuses me since they definitely were used to arcane magic before the destruction. I mean, basically, that was the point of the whole Blood Elf thingy. Last but not least, I tried to figure what exactly is the source of Blood Elf power for, power for Blood Elf Paladin. Is it Adal, the Sunwell, or just strong belief? And in the case of the Sunwell being it, wouldn't that mean that they're tremendously overpowered compared to the other races, since the Sunwell is kinda mighty and they're basically not bound to those mortal things most of the other classes kind of forced to follow. Alright, so I'm guessing you guys that are listening to this didn't really understand the question. It is not greatly formatted, so I'll try to summarize it, I guess. His first question is, what is going on with the Blood Elves? The second question is, what does it mean that they will get rid of arcane magic? And the third question is, like, how do Blood Elf Paladins work? So this is a very big topic. The main thing to keep in mind is, with the Blood Elves, lore-wise, they have evolved quite a lot just in the past 5 to 10 years, even more so in the past 5, but in a game they're pretty much at the Burning Crusade level, with maybe a few changes with some characters in the new expansions like Lady Liadrin, and some appearances that happened in like Mists of Pandaria, Warlords of Draenor, and even in Legion. This is only because Blizzard hasn't had the time to update Silvermoon, but I think at one point they should be able to catch up with the lore so the game will be in sync with the actual story. For your second question, I don't really understand what you mean by get rid of arcane magic. As far as I know, in the intro it is said that they seek new arcane magic. What this means is that after they lost their connection to the Sunwell, after the Sunwell was destroyed, they don't really have access to arcane magic, so they turn to Fel, and this is definitely not a good thing because Fel is very corrupting, and it is a reason why so few people really choose to use Fel, even though it is more powerful than the arcane. However, with the new lore, they should be going slowly back to the roots because the Sunwell was reignited. Also, for the last question, because this ties into the second one, originally the Blood Elven Paladins used to siphon the energy of a captured Naru that Keltas brought from Outland, but with the Sunwell reignited, they have changed their ways. Today they are very similar to the humans, and I know that there are some changes with the Paladin Order Hole that happened in Legion. I haven't done much of it, I don't have a level 100 Paladin, so I can't really say, but I do know that they have made big progress from just abusing the light to actually serving the light and the light serving them. Alright, and the last question is by Joel, and he asks, what are the best books or comics that tell Warcraft stories? I love the lore bits I find in the games, but want something more consumable and linear. Alright, so this isn't that much of a lore question per se, but it is something a lot of people ask me. I get this question all the time, so I just thought I would cover it quickly in this video. The thing about Warcraft lore is that it is gigantic. There are so many books, comics, short stories, some canon, some non-canon. So I think in total there's like 5,000 pages, maybe like 10,000 pages of just the books, and it is really hard to keep track of all of the things, of all of the little facts. So in my opinion, I think the single best book you can pick up if you don't know too much about the lore, or you don't have like the best picture of the main storyline, is just get the Chronicle, as the book in itself is just a summary of the Warcraft universe. It explains everything from the creation of the cosmos to pretty much the orc invasion. As far as I know, I think the next volume will be released next year, so there will be like volume 2. It will probably add more onto the past lore and continue the story, but if you don't know too much about it, this is the best book there is. I don't think there is like a single page in that book that isn't important, because the entire thing is a summary. Also, if you're interested in certain stories, like the stories of the orcs, you can read like Rise of the Horde, or the Vorgen, you can read Wolfheart, if you want to know about Varian as well, and some things that happen. But some of the books are very topical, I guess. They only explain a certain story, so just reading one, if you just want to read one book and understand the story itself, just get the Chronicle, because most of the others, if you read all of the books, obviously you will understand the lore, but it will take quite a lot of time. Alright, so I hope that answers your question, and that is all I have for this video. I think this length is almost perfect. I'm not certain how long it is, because it is like 25 minutes in my recording. It's probably like 21, 22 once I cut everything down. So feel free to leave your own questions. Best way to send them is by Facebook or comments. Ideally, if you do leave it in comments, just type in something like big Q&A question, hashtag Q&A or something like that, because sometimes I forget these questions and I can just search them on my channel. So just leave something like big Q&A, or start your question by question for the Q&A, and if it is interesting, I will probably cover it in the next video. So thanks a lot for watching this video, and hope to see you in the next one.